Tonight, we step into a world most history books quietly skip over. Not because it's scandalous, but because it was exhausting. Imagine waking up before sunrise, not to a rooster, but to the sound of your own heartbeat. Because if one thing goes wrong today, 40 of the most powerful people in Rome will blame you. What is your job? You plan the orgy. Not the way movies imagine it. No candles shaped like gods. No random tangle of silk and sweat. This is politics. This is survival. And your only tools are a wax tablet, a terrified slave, and the memory of last month's disaster when someone seated the wrong senator next to the wrong wife. Here's a question. What happens when a guest arrives uninvited, with a gladiator, and demands the best couch? Here's another. Who decides which wine is watered down, and which guest gets the pure, unhinged vintage? And the strangest question of all. Why did Romans need a vomitorium? And why is everything you've heard about it completely wrong? Before we walk through that perfume-soaked, anxiety-driven day, take a moment. If you enjoy history that's stranger than fiction, tap like. And if you want to see ancient Rome through the eyes of the person who held it all together, subscribe. Quietly, like a good orgy planner would. Now, close your eyes for just a second. Imagine the smell of rose oil and bad decisions. Open them. The sun isn't up. Your sandals are untied. And your first crisis is already waiting at the door. Let's begin. The first name on the wax tablet arrives before the sun has fully touched the courtyard. Lucius reads it once. Then again. His stomach tightens like a fist around a figure. Senator Gaius Calpurnius Piso. A man who brings his own perfume, his own poet, and his own interpretation of whose wife belongs to whom. Last month, Piso reclined too close to a young bride and whispered something that made her husband reach for a dagger. Lucius stopped the bloodshed with a tray of hunted figs and a lie about a faulty couch. Tonight, Piso is back. And his wife is coming too. Uninvited. She always comes uninvited. That alone is a crisis wrapped in silk. But the tablet holds worse news. 3 lines down, a name scratched in haste. Governor Crispus. The two men have not spoken since the Winter Games, when Piso accused Crispus of cheating at dice and Crispus responded by throwing a bronze cup at Piso's head. The cup missed. The memory did not. Now they will recline on the same U-shaped couches, breathing the same perfumed air, reaching for the same bowl of dates. Lucius stares at the tablet and wonders which one will strike first. A sharp joke? A spilled goblet? A whispered insult about ancestry that cannot be taken back? He writes a single word next to both names, asterisk separate star. Then he adds a second word, asterisk spies. He will station trusted slaves between them, not to serve wine but to listen. To intercept a glance before it becomes a threat. To cough loudly if a hand drifts toward a knife. But the real danger is not the old feud. It is the new variable. Written at the bottom of the list, in elegant ink that smells of cinnamon, 2 guests, unnamed. The vagueness is not an accident. It is a warning. They could be courtesans. They could be imperial spies. They could be the gladiator who once killed a man for looking at his drink wrong. Lucius does not know. He cannot prepare. He can only leave 2 empty cushions near the back and pray to Mercury that whoever arrives is too drunk to cause real damage. That is the art of the orgy planner. Not control. Containment. He rolls up the tablet, ties the leather strap, and places it next to his heart. The guest list is not a plan. It is a prayer. And the night has not even begun. By the time the sun climbs over the 7 hills, the names will multiply, the tensions will deepen, and Lucius will learn that some guests carry grudges older than the empire itself. But first, he needs to find enough slaves to pour the wine, fan the nobles, and keep 2 sworn enemies from tearing apart the mosaic of Venus. That nightmare begins now. That nightmare begins now. Lucius steps into the servants' courtyard, and the smell of fear hits him before the sound. 23 bodies stand in uneven rows. Some are slaves born in this household, their faces blank as marble. Others were bought last week at the market near the Tiber, still flinching at loud noises. None of them want to be here. The cupbearers are arguing about who carries the heavy amphory. The fan-bearers have not practiced their rhythm, and one of them admits, quietly, that she fainted last night from hunger. Lucius closes his eyes. He does not have time for hunger. He has 2 senators who hate each other, 2 unnamed guests who could be anything, and a host who will blame him if the rose petals are the wrong shade of red. He assigns the cupbearers first. Dilute the wine for the left couch, he says. The right couch gets full strength. Let them decide their own destruction. The fan-bearers receive their positions near the elderly guests, because old skin sweats faster and old tempers flare hotter. One slave, a boy no older than 12, is given a single task: collect discarded sandals. He looks terrified. Lucius kneels and whispers that sandals are not just sandals. They are weapons. A nobleman who loses his footwear will not leave. He will stay and demand satisfaction. The boy nods. He understands. Then come the musicians. The flute girl is hung over, swaying gently against a pillar. The lyre player is tuning his instrument with the slow, loving attention of a man who plans to play something mournful and ruin the mood. Lucius stations the lyre player near the exit, where he can be removed quickly. The flute girl goes to the garden, where her unsteadiness might be mistaken for artistry. But the real tension is not the music. It is the dancers. Two of them share a history that involves a man, a stolen bracelet, and a curse whispered in the dark. They have not spoken in 3 months. Now they must perform together, oiled and silent, while the guests watch. Lucius separates them by the width of the entire atrium. He assigns a slave to stand between them during rehearsals. He considers giving them different perfumes so they cannot smell each other's anger. The sun is higher now. The courtyard buzzes with whispered complaints and poorly hidden dread. Lucius gathers everyone one last time. You are invisible, he says, unless a guest calls for you. Then you are grace itself. One mistake, and I will assign you to the sponge duty until Saturnalia. No one laughs. They know he means it. The staff disperses like smoke. The boy with the sandals lingers, and Lucius places a hand on his shoulder. Tonight, he says, if a senator shouts, you did not hear it. If a wife cries, you did not see it. Just collect the sandals. The boy nods and vanishes into the shadows. Lucius is alone for one breath. Then the first runner arrives with news that the harpist has locked herself in a closet. The staffing crisis is not over. It has only just begun. And somewhere in the kitchens, a cook is screaming about doves. And somewhere in the kitchens, a cook is screaming about doves. Lucius walks toward the sound, and the heat hits him first. Not the dry heat of the courtyard, but the wet, heavy heat of boiling oil, roasting meat, and 20 sweating bodies crammed into a space meant for 10. The main cook, a bald man with arms like oak branches, stands over a bronze cauldron, stirring something dark and smelling of anchovies. He does not look up. He never looks up. He only shouts. The doves, he bellows. The doves have escaped again. Lucius watches 3 small birds flutter past the ceiling beams, leaving trails of white feathers and panic. The Trojan pig, stuffed with live birds, now has an empty cavity. A slave boy chases a dove with a broom. Another tries to catch one with a laundry basket. The cook threatens to feed them all to the peacock. And the peacock itself sits on a silver platter, roasted golden, its feathers reattached with wax and prayer. It cost more than a soldier's annual wage. It tastes like wet leather. But no one eats peacock for flavor. They eat it to watch the servants carry it in on a shield, to hear the guests gasp, to feel the weight of wealth pressing against their ribs. Lucius inspects the dormice. 35 of them, plump and honey-glossed, rolled in poppy seeds until they look like tiny, tragic desserts. He counts twice. 15 are missing. The cook admits, without shame, that some were eaten during the night shift. Lucius does not ask who. He does not want to know. What he cannot afford is empty space on the serving trays. Emptiness is an insult. An insult becomes a rumor. A rumor becomes a feud. A feud becomes a stabbing. He has seen it happen. Last spring, a missing plate of figs led to a senator challenging a merchant to a duel. The merchant had no sword. He used a wine jug. The jug broke. The senator's nose never healed straight. Lucius moves to the garum storage. 3 amphorae of the finest fermented fish sauce, imported from Hispania, aged for 5 years, worth more than the cook's entire family. One wrong spill, and the whole triclinium will smell like a dockside brothel. He wraps each amphora in cloth and assigns a single slave to guard them. That slave is not allowed to drink wine tonight. Not even water. Lucius watches as the kitchen slaves prepare the final spectacle, a cake shaped like the Colosseum, filled with live songbirds. When sliced, the birds will burst out, fluttering through the candlelight, and the guests will applaud. Or scream. Either way, They will remember. Lucius licks honey from his thumb and tastes the future. It is sweet, sticky, and about to go wrong. The menu is nearly ready. But the guests are not. And somewhere near the garden, he hears the first argument of the evening already beginning. That will be keynote 4. And somewhere near the garden, he hears the first argument of the evening already beginning. By the time Lucius arrives, the sun has dipped behind the villa wall, and the oil lamps are spitting gold light across the marble. 2 guests stand too close to each other, their voices low but sharp. One is the wife of a tribune. The other is a courtesan known for her memory of names and her willingness to share them. They are not arguing about a man. They are arguing about a secret. Lucius does not ask which secret. He steps between them with a tray of chilled wine and a smile that says nothing. The wife drinks. The courtesan drinks. The argument dissolves into perfume and silence. That is the moment the party truly begins. The triclinium fills with bodies reclining on couches, left elbows propped on embroidered cushions, right hands reaching for oysters and hunted figures. The flute girl plays something soft. The lyre player has been moved to the latrine corridor, where his mournful tunes will only offend the sponges. And the dancers, oiled and golden, begin their slow movements near the fountain. A senator whispers into a young man's ear. A matron laughs too loudly at a joke she did not understand. Someone has already lost a sandal. The boy collects it without being seen. Lucius watches the wine flow. Diluted for the left couch, pure for the right. He watches the guests watch each other. The unnamed visitors have arrived. 2 women in translucent silk, their faces hidden behind ivory fans. They do not eat. They do not speak. They only watch, and that watching makes the room feel smaller, hotter, more dangerous. By the 3rd course, the peacock has been carved, the dormice have been devoured, and the Trojan pig has released its doves into the rafters. The guests cheer. 1 dove lands in a bowl of garum. No one notices. Or they pretend not to. That is the unspoken rule of the Roman orgy. See nothing, remember nothing, but tell everyone tomorrow. The couches grow closer together as the wine empties. A hand drifts across a cushion. A whisper becomes a kiss. A curtain is drawn around a private alcove. Lucius does not follow. He only counts the guests still visible, notes who has disappeared with whom, and prays that no husband discovers his wife in the wrong cubiculum before dawn. The night deepens. The music slows to a pulse. The lamps burn low. And Lucius, standing in the shadow of a column, watches the empire reduce itself to sweat, silk, and the soft sound of someone untying a belt. He does not judge. He only plans. And his plan, against all odds, is holding. But the night is not over. The sun has not yet touched the rooftops. And somewhere in the garden, a flute girl is crying. The orgy planner pours himself a cup of undiluted wine. He deserves it. He drinks once. Then he walks toward the sound, because the last hour of any Roman party is always the longest, and the quiet ones are always the loudest.